So my spoiler-free version of this review was on Wednesday, and what's funny is that when you boil down my rating for the movie, my main criticism for it is that I wanted more of it. So even though, since making that review, I have now seen the movie a second time, so I'm doing my part in trying to make this thing a success, and I do think it's good enough that anyone interested should check it out if you haven't already seen it. It's really fun. I did actually enjoy it more on my second run-through. I still stand by my rating that it is a 7 out of 10. It's not long enough to contain the things that it wanted to contain and pull them off in a fully convincing manner the way it tried to. So now I'm going to go through my issues in the assumption that you have already seen the movie, and I am going to tell you how I think that they could have resolved those issues to make a more satisfying movie that easily could have been a 9 out of 10. Obviously, spoilers ahead. And I'm going to be using a cam rip of the movie to show off my points more clearly. I'm going to ruin it as much as possible, and I'm telling you to go watch the movie in theaters rather than use something like this. I've already done so twice, and I'm planning to buy the movie when it comes out. It's just not out for a while, so I can get the stuff I'm planning on showing you. I feel kind of guilty doing this, but if I held off on making this video, I'd just be using my actual bought copy for the visuals, so outside of time, there really wouldn't be much of a difference. I'm trying to be as ethical as I can, while not being forced to sift through the trailers to get the shots that I need. If you think that this is uncool of me to do, I'm worried about that myself, and I fully accept the criticism that may come from this. And I don't intend for this to be any kind of replacement for the movie, which, as I have said, I think that you should go spend your money to see. It deserves your cash, it's already got mine, and I plan to spend more in the future. But first, your likes! Please give, maybe subscribe. Okay, so just about anyone who saw my review and had seen the movie was able to guess that it was Megatron's character arc that had that insane progression. And honestly, I should not have been able to say Megatron's character arc, because he should not have been Megatron by the end of the movie. Out of an obsessive need to cram the whole thing into this one installment, they've made it so D16 went from being lifelong friends with Orion Pax to not caring that he'd accidentally murdered him and was honestly unreasonably angry that Orion dared need saving over the course of a single day. And maybe they could have made that work if it weren't a full 52 minutes before the beginning of his character arc. It is a flat 30 minutes between when he would probably die to save Orion and when he would no longer be bothered about killing him. A lot of that is due to the fact that the movie spends way too long not even touching his character arc, or if they are, what they're doing is repeatedly poking at it, then reverting immediately. Like anytime that D16 might develop a legitimate grievance with Orion, it immediately turns out that he's actually happy to be there and proud of what Orion has pushed him to do. So it makes it clear that the resentment shouldn't really be building up at him, and at no point does it feel like D16 has had it with the way that Orion treats him. But a lot of it is due to the fact that the first third of the movie is just deeply mishandled. So let's figure out why that is. It all comes back to the train, honestly. I mean, there's more to it, but the train sequence is a cancer on the movie. And as I apparently went so opaque on the metaphor in my main review to avoid spoilers, several people had no idea what I was talking about. Elita is the person in the white suit. You see, the movie wanted Elita to be angry at Orion and D16 while they were on the train, and they were willing to break absolutely everything to get there, and include a deep level of character assassination that made Elita look like a sociopathic bitch, who was upset that her subordinates didn't abandon Jazz to die because it risked her looking bad to her superiors. Which maybe if there was more than one actual character arc in the movie could have worked as a starting point, but while the other characters do change, I don't really think there was development for them. Like, how does Orion change to become Optimus Prime? What is the growth that he underwent to get there? Is it none and he's essentially the same dude? Yes. At best, he's just kind of mildly chilled out, so he talks with less enthusiasm. What's the growth that Elita had? None. She just doesn't hate those guys specifically anymore. What's the growth that Bumblebee had? None. Just flat out none. He didn't really change in any discernible way, except maybe he talked a little less by the time the movie's over. So that part is just an unforced error. The character arcs really could have started earlier, or at least had their groundwork laid earlier, but they clearly wanted to show that there were a lot of good times before the falling out between Megatron and Optimus to enhance the tragedy, and I will say that they were successful at that. Perhaps too much so. So this is the exact opposite problem of the Star Wars prequels. Instead of going, I don't know that those guys were actually ever friends, it's, those guys were way too much of friends for this to have happened this quickly over these circumstances. And that would have been really easily solved by having the rift between the two of them form in this movie and then their split happen in the next one, because over the course of 2 movies and a war against the Quintessons, they became unreconcilable. But let's do what I like to do and rewrite this to achieve what they wanted to achieve in this movie, constrained by the same parameters they were constrained by. And let's start by identifying the issues. Elita is angry at them on the train for a completely contrived reason. If she got fired in that situation, it makes no sense that Orion and D16 weren't, considering the fact that they were directly insubordinate to Darkwing, and D16 intercepting Darkwing's punch like that would obviously have been interpreted as assault by that society. Now the movie very easily could have explained her getting fired while the other two didn't by saying that she was too close to a promotion that would have put her on an equal level with cogged bots, and since that society couldn't tolerate the uncogged being the equal to the cogged, they were looking for any excuse to fire her, so even though that one sucked and didn't make sense, she still got canned because it was the first one that presented itself to them. But the way that it currently is makes Elita look bad, as she is furious at Pax and D16 for saving a life. Honestly, one of the ways that you could interpret the events as they actually happened is that Darkwing, despite being a violent asshole, might actually have been kind of a bro, and heard Elita over the radio order her subordinates to abandon Jazz in order to follow protocol, and then chastised them for risking her job, and went, no, that's not the kind of person who has any right being in a leadership position, and fired her for those reasons. Which you may say that's an uncharitable read of Elita's actions and an extremely charitable read of Darkwing, but it is one that you can make a logical argument for given what we're presented, and is supported by the fact that Elita makes it clear later just how much she sucks because her idea of advancing in the ranks was entirely based on pushing others coworkers down when she wanted to get someone fired for not closing a door because she somehow thought that was a sure way to get a promotion for her. Like, she is so needlessly toxic in the first half of this movie. The next issue is that the Iacon 5000 race is a completely pointless addition to the movie. Think about it. What does it achieve? Technically, they are put into waste disposal by Darkwing because of it, but that was only because he got to them before they could talk to anyone. They were not officially demoted down there. In fact, they were just promoted by Sentinel. So all they have to do is leave, which they freely do, and tell someone, and Darkwing couldn't do shit about it. And if you say that Sentinel put Darkwing up to it, that wouldn't make sense because he'd have no reason to talk to them and promote them in the first place. He could just let Darkwing bust them down to garbage burning duty on his own. It was what they expected to happen anyways. And them inspiring the workers to be more productive would be a huge boon. So any way you slice it, they weren't stuck in garbage disposal because of the Iacon 5000. They were stuck there because they were stupid and could have left at any time. So let's tweak all of that so that way it logically makes sense. There are 3 ways we can do this. 1, we can eliminate the Iacon 5000 altogether, as it doesn't really serve a purpose in the narrative. All it's there for is an early action beat that results in their being forced into waste disposal with a fake demotion, which you could just have them be officially demoted at the same time as Alita because of their insubordination. Simultaneously, make it so that way Alita was supportive of them staying behind to save their coworker, that way she's not a psychopathically self-centered bitch. Then you just have all 3 wind up in the trash burning room with Bumblebee and decide to go find the Matrix together, as Alita not being their friend isn't adding anything to the story. You could still have her be tough and demanding, as she is often depicted to be, even if she's not supposed to hate the other main characters. 2, you have them all demoted at the same time, then they join the Iacon 5000 as a way to try and get promoted back out of their newly lowered status, only to be busted down even further. This would make the joke that there are more sub-levels make even more sense, as they think that they were already dropped as low as they could go, only to somehow wind up down there with Bumblebee even further than they ever thought was possible. 3, and I think the least feasible one, you can get rid of the initial demotion and have all 3 of them join the Iacon 5000, which is what results in them getting busted down several ranks. The benefit of this would be to establish that they are unhappy with their lot in life, and that by trying to step out of it, they were only punished, making them want to strike out on their own. And in all of these, D16 should be trying to pick up extra shifts, doing more work than he has to, and more work than anyone else does, to try and advance himself the right way out of his admiration for Sentinel. That way, it's even more of a betrayal for him specifically when it turns out all their work was in service of the Quintessence. Because right now, in the movie, while yes, he was clearly the biggest Sentinel fan, his reasons for being the most angry at Sentinel are shallow. He didn't lose any more than any of the rest of them, but he sure acts like he does. Personally, I favor the second scenario the most. It keeps the plot of the movie essentially the same, while contextualizing everything better and making it so that way the events are related to each other. From there, you have a stronger foundation to start the character arcs earlier. You could have D16 be the one most angry about their unfair demotion instead of Alita. You could have him be more angry at Orion for making them fall even lower. You could have him frustrated that they aren't back at Iacon doing their jobs while the rest go on their quest, even if he does have a bit of pride and a sense of adventure. You could have him be annoyed at Pax as they are all orbiting him in what he wants to do. That way, you have the start of their falling out. From there, you can have the movie basically progress as normal, just working to the ramp up into their first big character shift a little smoother. Or like, a lot smoother, because he basically finds out that his leader is a bad guy and immediately goes actually crazy in the movie that we have. Like, what was the whole, I got it thing about? Like the I want him to die in darkness bit was already doing its job plenty good. From there, I'd have the movie continue on all the way up until the very end, where Orion starts trying to stop D16 from executing Sentinel. And here, I don't think it matters if he succeeds or fails. If Orion succeeds in convincing Megatron not to execute Sentinel because they're friends, it would still deepen the gap between them, and it would have made Megatron go back on his word that Starscream would be the last time he showed mercy. Though I might be inclined to cut that part also. And if you have Megatron kill Sentinel anyways, it would really disappoint Orion, who couldn't look at D16 the same way again. But it wouldn't sever their friendship yet. The most important part is that Megatron doesn't shoot and betray Orion in this movie. Orion should not become Optimus in this first installment. Because outside of getting accidentally shot by his friend, what exactly was his noble sacrifice for the greater good? Because I don't think that jumping in front of a mass murderer is exactly a society-saving endeavor. Especially when that doesn't seem like it was his plan. Like, there's an awful lot of surprise on his face for someone who just did that intentionally. It seems way more likely that he thought Megatron would have time to react and just wouldn't fire at all. Not that he was intentionally giving his life in the name of justice. This scene would work a lot better in the future when Optimus isn't defending a child-mutilating, mass-murdering slaver. So save this sacrifice for the second movie, and a character who doesn't deserve a public execution like Sentinel does. A dude who, if he were a real human, would be in the running for history's greatest monster. You know, maybe a character whose crimes are actually questionable, or an enemy who, if left alive, has the power to end the war and all the suffering. It would also give you more time to make it make sense why Bumblebee and Alita assumed that Megatron was going to kill everyone in Iacon. Like, what about destroying statues made you assume that he was going to kill everyone? Even if it didn't get a sequel, I would find it more satisfying to have their character arcs half completed with a clear indication of where they were going than having them rush to the end. Though to be fair, a large reason as to why the character arcs were so rushed is that they just didn't really start until over halfway through the movie. Again, it's a great film, but the whole thing, and especially the first third, are just structurally off. Just a bit of tweaking could have gotten the movie into one smooth package that really could have been a 9 out of 10, and be thoroughly emotionally satisfying in every way. Oh, and before I go, some people asked me what I meant by bad action and the fights ending super abruptly. So like every fight in the movie seems to stop like halfway to, at best, 2/3 the way through. Arachnid and Alpha Trion square up. It basically starts and ends with Arachnid just landing on Alpha Trion. Starscream vs. D16 is a couple of blows, then Starscream lays on the ground for a long time, enjoying getting strangled by Daddy, until Megatron shoves a gun in his face. Then they all get attacked, and we see like half of the fight until Orion has a rock fall on him, and somehow at some point Bumblebee and Megatron are captured. Arachnid vs. Elita basically has Arachnid tackle Elita, then Elita tackles Arachnid, and then the fight's over. It's not that these fights end, it's that they almost always just stop in a really unsatisfying way. And what I mean by the animation can kind of suck at times, look at this shot of Elita punching a wall. These hits have no impact. Elita slapping Arachnid with her own leg? No impact. Optimus's laser axe never has any impact at any moment of this movie, but at this point where he cuts Megatron's fusion cannon especially. Like, look at this. It's just kind of going, but then it ends so abruptly and weirdly. A lot of the action is really cool, and then some of it is just stupidly awkward. And before we go, let's thank a channel backer. And this time it's Kuko Chad with 10K Starscream, the better original version of the Earthrise mold. Does it look old by this point? Yes. Does it look amazing for how old it actually is? Also yes. For a figure that is almost 20 years old, this is an absolute micro masterpiece. This thing is a legal adult, and it looks better than figures of characters who came out years later. And the rare, more accurate version that probably inspired the term micro masterpiece? Kuko, my friend, you have taste. How did they use this as a base in 2020 and then make this damn thing worse? Such a tragedy. Also, it's time for the monthly shoutouts. If you'd like a shoutout yourselves, please follow the instructions on your screens. King Dareth is back after a long time, and he would like you to check out his stop-motion channel. He does Power Rangers and Lego, and has 2 videos that he'd like you to see. Links below. Purpleguy 310 is making stop motions and videos about video games, none of which are Five Nights at Freddy's. I know, I was shocked too. Wheeljazz is making stop motions. I don't have as many neurons in my brain as stop-motion animators I've shouted out. He has a show called The Cost of War, and a new video out about Tarantulas, so check him out. Jade Novanis is a VTuber who streams Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links while complaining about the Transformers. That sounds like a remarkable good time to me, so give her Twitch channel a look. Chopper Toys is making shorts showing you how to transform modern chug stuff. His channel also covers Transformers in other ways, so check him out if you want to see how to convert something quickly and efficiently. Also, thanks for the fan art, man! Wildstrike86 has a TikTok where he shows off his Transformers collection. If you guys just want to see another collector's spread, give him a look. Not the Best would like you to check out his dad, Calyx Page, on Instagram. He's a stand-up comedian and DJ in the Orlando area who also streams on Twitch. He's hoping that if his dad starts making more money, then maybe he'll get an 86 Grimlock. Dare to dream, my guy. He also wants you to check out his school's robotics team, Auto Robotics, as they need more sponsors before the start of the January season. They have an adorable logo, so check out their recent matches. Lastly, he'd like you to take a look at the Edgewater Eagle band, the marching band he plays in, so if you'd be so kind, give all of that a gander. DarthNemesis / the TF guy is posting his collection on TikTok and Instagram, and when he hits 500 subs on TikTok, which he is close to doing, he will start a review show. Give him a look. Simeon Ancio, whose name I apparently still have failed to pronounce correctly, sorry man, I'm trying, wants you to give the Protomen a listen, a band who formed in 2009 who I've definitely had YouTube recommend me at least several times. They do music based on video games. He also wants you to check out TV Tropes, and I have lost a great many hours myself just sifting through that site. This is a really unfortunate coincidence, but Nerva the Protogen wanted me to share their cat Maggie with you all, who sadly just had late-stage kidney failure and had to be put down. As someone who also just lost a cat this week, I understand the pain that you are feeling at this very moment, and I'm sorry. Lastly, StarscreamsAlot. God damn, that's a good name. How did no one ever snag that before? Anyways, StarscreamsAlot is making stop motions and plans on showing off his customs. Give him a look. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please, share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.